A few weeks ago, I was able to watch a movie called The Way. It's about a father, Tom, played by Martin Sheen, who winds up on this pilgrimage through Spain, taking El Camino de Santiago. This means the Way of St. James, and it's a really cool place, cool passage. It's this pilgrimage destination that's been around since at least the 8th century, and it ends in the city of Santiago de Compostela, where supposedly the Apostle St. James is buried. Tom never intended to be a pilgrim. He's a middle-aged American dentist. He likes golf. He arrives at a base city nestled in the Pyrenees, France, after a phone call. His son, played by his actual son, Emilio Estevez, died on the first night of this pilgrimage in a freak accident. Tom decides to take his place. The movie is sort of like a modern Canterbury Tales. So Tom and the other pilgrims trying to make sense of their lives, one so messy that the best they could do was follow God into the Pyrenees and hope they ended up in Santiago de Compostela. This is where I have a confession to make. I wanted to write a sermon about Psalm 23 and rest for a while, but every time I thought about it and got it started, it sounded like I was reading the back of a postcard featuring green meadows and still waters, and it just didn't seem as beautiful without the background story. I wanted to show you Santiago de Compostela without showing you the pilgrimage. Now, Santiago de Compostela is objectively beautiful, even from a snapshot, but it's even more so when you hear all the stories. How can a man running away from life, struggling with the death of his son, instead begin to understand what his son meant when he said there's a difference between the life that we live and the life that we choose? Y'all are going to have to rent the movie to see what happens to Martin Sheen. But as for Psalm 23, I can tell you the story does end up with a postcard of green meadows and still waters. So let's start from the beginning. Everyone knows Psalm 23, at least to the extent that they can mumble through a few lines. It sounds familiar, and throughout Christian history, we as Christians have loved it. We love it because we want it to be true. It means a simple life. It means a new life. Honestly though, the first time that I really actually read Psalm 23, I was angry by the end of the first line. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It seemed like my own failed sermon attempt to start the story at its ending. Started reading a poem and the tension is already settled. It'd be like playing the last 10 minutes of the movie first. The Lord is my shepherd, I do not want. My story didn't start with the happily ever after closures like Disney princess films. My story didn't start in still waters. More importantly, I don't think David, the guy who wrote this song, started his life with that happily ever after either. This is David, the little kid with his stones who kills Goliath, the court musician, the king, the adulterer, the man after God's own heart. David should have known where the story started. It was the valley that came first. It's the valley that we recognize, that's canonized in our literature and music. Yea, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Culture makes us think of this valley a lot. Musicians and poets and filmmakers have sung and spoke and inscribed these words into our collective consciousnesses. From Bach to Schubert to Patti Smith, Kanye West, Pink Floyd, Tupac, I could go on, really could. Entire articles have been written about Psalm 23's usage in pop culture. This psalm is often requested at funerals. It was the most resonant source of comfort that George W. Bush found to say in his first response to 9/11. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we know. The Lord is my shepherd, I do not want. I keep thinking the valley has to be first, but it just made the difficulties of David's life, of my own life, larger and larger until it seemed overwhelming. And like so many of the songs I heard, I only focused on one part of the phrase and forgot the rest. There's a second part to the valley. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. For you are with me. And I'm somewhere convinced that the same misspent focus is why David doesn't start with the valley. The beginning of his story is not in circumstances. The beginning of his story is God. The Lord is my shepherd, I do not want. This reorientation requires my own admission of guilt. I focus on me a lot. I let some valley in Israel be the excuse to focus on me instead of God. That valley became my universe. The problem was so big and God was so little that as I stared up at those cliffs, lists of everything that had gone wrong in David's life, and lists of everything that had gone wrong in my life, didn't leave me a way out. I could not see a way out of the valley. I could not see God. Again, the psalm starts, "The Lord is my shepherd." In researching this sermon, I spent a lot of time reading about shepherds and sheep. It's kind of a new pet project to see how many sheep facts in the next week I'll be able to stuff into finals. I kind of really, really like sheep now. They're cute and fluffy. They're like walking pillows. YouTube has some really great videos of sheep doing sheep things, like eating shoelaces or getting stuck in dog doors. A fortune cookie here in Waco at Happy Walk once told me, a sheep without legs is called a cloud. Sheep have become a minor source of joy in my life for the last few weeks. But nobody wants to be called a sheep. Being a sheep is bad. It means that you're not different, that you're not special. In society, we call people sheep if they follow a leader without critical thought, if they don't think for themselves. I'm convinced that real sheep don't think at all. Unfortunately, sheep don't follow blindly either. That would be so much easier for the shepherd. Sheep wander and get lost. They see shiny great grass and eat so much that they can die. They escape from their pens at night and fall over and get stuck on their sides and backs like turtles, and they can't right themselves. They have to wait till morning until the shepherd turns them over and puts them back on their feet. It's more and more an apt metaphor for humanity and for myself than I would like to admit. Sheep need a shepherd who can use the tools of his trade, a rod and staff. Sheep need a shepherd that cared for them. In John 10:11-16, Jesus responds to the need for a shepherd. This is a paraphrase, and we've already heard some of it. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I like the language of wanting, too, because even more than in David's time, I think it resonates with us now. The way we usually hear this is, I shall not want. In other ways, I shall want nothing. The third translation said, I lack nothing. But wanting resonates with us. We're in a society for which nothing satisfies us. We always want more. The income level that was exorbitant 5 years ago seems too little now. We are encouraged to go after what we want, whether it be a new car or a new person, a new relationship. And there is a painful truth that our hearts cry in tension to this message. Wanting won't give us peace. We only rest when our central focus is God.